Tony D and Little Joan with a Screenwriter's Rant by request for The Wire Room, starring Kevin Dillon and Bruce Willis. And I guess it's one more movie with Bruce Willis before retirement. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's what? It's the Pineys, books 1 through 9, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. Oh, excuse me, just had dinner. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Bruce looks okay in this. And the movie seems to focus mostly on Kevin Dillon and the guy he has an unlikely team up with. So the premise of the movie is Kevin Dillon is basically, he works for, I don't know, the FBI or some task force, and they're watching a gun runner. This guy. And then some guys come to kill him. And I don't know if he's cooperating with the feds or what, but they want to keep him alive. So Bruce Willis's instructions were to keep him alive. So when the guys come to kill him, Kevin Dillon doesn't know what to do other than he warns the guy because the hit squad is coming. So he warns him, and then the guy proceeds to turn the tables on this hit squad, this incredibly armed hit squad with incredible, I guess they covered him up this way so they could reuse him in the next half of the movie, wherein the gunrunner kills everybody, and then another hit squad comes for Kevin Dillon and then Bruce Willis, who comes back into the movie. So then he helps, I guess, Kevin Dillon in some way because he feels like he owes him. And Bruce Willis is the mentor cop. He says something like, how does it feel to know that everybody wants to kill you? So it's called Wire Room. And then this guy says something like, you don't know what's coming. September 2nd. It doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad. I kind of like the premise. So if I broke it down into 3 acts, the first act is Kevin Dillon gets acquainted with his gig in the Wire Room. He's got to watch over this guy. And then he sees various things. The guy's having a party, I think, at one point. And then the hit squad, Bruce Willis gives him instructions, being the mentor, older fed or whatever. Bruce leaves, and then the hit squad shows up at some point while Kevin is watching. He starts to see them fight, and then he gives the gun runner the heads up. Okay, so that's like basically the first act. Second act, he helps them. This is a big problem. He calls Bruce Willis and says, and Bruce Willis is like, what have you done? I didn't tell you to do that. It's not your job. But he felt bad, like, well, you said keep the guy alive. Well, that's what I'm doing. So he continues to help him. Bruce Willis realizes, like, maybe Kevin Dillon's in over his head, so he shows up to the Wire Room and say, what the hell are you doing? And all that. Now the gun runner's killed like 19 guys. And the upping of the ante is they start to uncover what the heck's going on. There's an inside guy. There's always an inside guy. And now the tables have been turned. Now there's a squad of faceless drones coming to kill them that they're going to have to shoot a bunch of people. And so now Bruce Willis is there too. Now Bruce Willis maybe dies or sacrifices himself. That's kind of the role he's in now. He's not the lead guy anymore. He's the older guy who dies or gets shot and then says, oh, good job, Kevin Dillon. Good job. You did the things feds do. You saved America. But it's kind of up in the air because of Bruce's condition. Maybe they didn't want to give him too much to do, so they killed him off abruptly at some point in the movie. Maybe he goes and he runs for help and then comes back at the end. I don't know. But I do know Kevin Dillon survives. And I think the ending is something like, well, the gun runner, he saved the gun runner or gun smuggler or whatever he is. So the gun smuggler saves Kevin. And in the end, he goes, well, I guess I will turn state's evidence and I'll be a good guy now because, after all, I'm kind of good guy. You know that. You've been watching me. Ha 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 ha. So that's kind of the way it is. I'm guessing. Is it good? I mean, it looks okay. Kevin Dillon's bringing a lot of energy to it. I like that. You know, not the goofy energy he brought to Entourage, but he's pretty serious. Bruce is kind of just there. I just hope he executes well enough that we don't see him like losing it or anything. I don't think they would leave a scene like that in the movie, so I think it'll be fine. It's just a shame, you know. He has to sort of go out this way at the end of his career. Maybe they'll find a cure for his condition and he'll be back. I don't know. Maybe this was early before his aphasia got too bad. So maybe it's, you know, or maybe they just gave him, you know, just the right amount of lines, didn't really tax him all that much, kept him, you know, in a situation where he could handle the role. Like, they didn't give him any lines. They didn't make him do a lot of action scenes. I don't know who this is. They don't really explain in the trailer. So I would say it was probably pretty watchable. I mean, it's got action in it, so you're going to see... I mean, the other guy looks pretty much like an action guy. I mean, Kevin Dillon looks okay as an action guy, but this guy looks like... At first I thought it was Jason Statham with a beard. But he looks like he's pretty action-y. And I guess they're splitting the action. Yeah, him. I guess they're splitting the action between... I think most of it's with him, and then part of it's on Kevin Dillon and Bruce Willis. So they're with more of it on Kevin Dillon than Bruce Willis. So yeah, and then he shows up at the end. So he really, I think, this guy has the bulk of the action anyway. So I think it can work. Would I see it? Yeah. Would I go to the movies to see it? Maybe. Probably have to hear a review or two if I got. You know, if everybody's like raving about the movie, maybe, but I mean, I'd certainly rent it or, you know, see it on Netflix or Prime or whatever. That's the thing these days. We were just talking about this with my film buddy. You know, people aren't going to the theater a lot, and it's like, what's worth going to see, you know? You could see the top movies. Those are the ones that are worth... that you want to see in a big theater, you know? Top Gun, Maverick, definitely. Even Thor, Love and Thunder, didn't do as well as it should have, but still, you'd want to see that in a movie theater. Nope, you know, had some effects. This, meh. I mean, you could see it in a theater, but this would be just as fine on my computer screen or whatever. It's not a big movie. It's not going to have like these giant production values that I need to see on a big screen. A lot of people have big screens at home now. Flat screen TVs are cheap anyway. So, you know, it's something to consider when you're making a film that I think you're going to, especially a low budget deal, you're going to expect it not to go to the theaters. You're going to expect that. So you have to, you know, unless you have access to sweeping, beautiful production value, like, you know, some natural beauty, like you're shooting something in the Grand Canyon or whatever, you can't really be low budget and do that. But you know what I'm saying. Like if maybe you got a giant farm in Montana and it's just beautiful scenery, like then maybe you could convince, you know, and the movie's good, you could convince the studio, well, we'll get a big release because people want to see this, you know, the wide open plains if you're doing a Western or something. But I think with this, you know, I think it'll be acceptable, you know. I think it'll be an okay movie to rent, and maybe something to see in the theaters if this guy's action is halfway decent. All right, so that's it for me, Tony D, and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. You're only getting two takes here. But the real bass stuff, you got to check over our other channels. So I'm probably going to be banned off of YouTube anyway, along with anybody else with an opinion. And you know, I got a lot of opinions. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.